This interview is for information only and should not be considered as investment advice or a recommendation to buy shares in the company featured. Welcome to this Stockbox interview. Welcome to the research talks from Stockbox with Alan Green, our regular research analyst here on Stockbox Research Talks. And today, Alan, we're going to be talking Echo Energy and Ananda developments. So, first of all, how are you, Alan? Are you doing okay?
I'm good, thanks, Mark. We've had a bit of a battle with the local planning committee this week about houses in our road. I won't go into it, but even though we've got lots of support and press coverage, the council won and the planners won. So we're a bit miffed about that, but we're trying to go into Easter weekend, and put it all behind us. But it's been a bit of a week.
Okay. Well, yeah, you can maybe look forward to the Easter weekend, a little bit of a break, and hopefully some nice weather as well.
Yeah, well, sun's shining here, so can't complain on that front, very good, And anyway, first world problems, what the hell?
Exactly, yeah, first world problems indeed. Yeah, it's good if we can sit here and moan all day.
Yeah, exactly.
First world problems,
yeah.
But there we go. Okay, so Echo Energy and Ananda development today. Which one do you want to take first, Alan?
Well, let's go with Ananda Developments first, because I think this is an interesting company. And the reason it's interesting is because a couple of years ago at Peterhouse Capital, I sat around the table and listened to a presentation from Melissa Sturgis and the gentleman that was running HAPAC, one of the companies that Ananda are invested into. So it kind of piqued my interest. And I know Melissa Sturgis from other companies. Of course, she's been involved with many mining companies, Aquarius Platinum and Sylvania and others. So she's very well respected in the AIM market and in the Aquis market alike. So Ananda Development it's a company. The EPIC code is ANA and it's AQX listed, of course. Currently has a market cap of around £6 million. Shares are traded as high as 1.5p on the year and as low as 0.2p, and they're currently sitting at about the midpoint at just over a penny. So Ananda's stated aim is to grow itself, which is a bit of a pun based around obviously the fact it's cannabis and cannabis grows, but that's another story. Growing into a significant participant in the UK medicinal cannabis field. And of course, medicinal cannabis has been very much a buzzword, both for the industry and the markets. Over the year, we've seen Canobo come to market, and there are going to be plenty more entrance into the market in the field of medicinal cannabis. But Ananda is one of the existing companies in that field, and it has three primary strings to its bow. So just a quick look at the UK cannabis market at the moment. There are, between March and September last year, more than 37,000 cannabis-based products were imported into the UK, and that's compared to 3,700 over the previous 14-15 months. So there's been a big upswing. I think, as we can see, with the interest in the markets and the interest generally, that's well supported. But certainly the data is now bearing that out. So in the UK, there are roughly 3,000 patients taking medicinal cannabis products, but that's growing at 20% per month. And of course, cannabis products are used to relieve pain in general. They're also used to relieve anxiety, depression, neurological disorders, and also they're being used in other areas of treatment. So Ananda are working to really develop and grow this area. Their flagship area for them is a joint venture with Jepco Marketing. Now, Jepco are well known for their work with GW Pharmaceuticals, a well-known listed pharmaceutical company a few years ago, in growing cannabis and growing cannabis for medicinal purposes. And Ananda and Jepco have a joint venture called DJT Plants Limited, which they are working together to obtain a license to cultivate cannabis in the UK. So we had some updates during February, which I'll come to in a second. But the Home Office to date has advised that as regards the license application from DJT Plants, all is okay. But due to COVID, it was unable to visit the site. But of course, that will all change very shortly. So those are that's the primary investment, and we'll return to that in a second. The second investment is with a company called ICANN. It owns 180 shares, just under 1%, of a company called ICANN, which is short for Israel Cannabis. And this company is a medical or medicinal cannabis incubator, and it's a conference company. It arranged conferences to discuss and bring people together to promote cannabis products and obviously develop the industry. Due to COVID, of course, they've been unable to operate. They've been running a conference service online, as have many companies. But of course, post the COVID COVID lockdown, we'll expect to see that start to move again. So the final investment is with Liberty Herbal Technologies, LHT. They invested Ananda Developments invested $460,000 for a 15% stake and a board seat. Now, Liberty Herbal have HAPAC, HAPAC, which is a vaping product. And when we sat at Peterhouse for the presentation from Melissa and her team, this little blue device was passed around the table, and we tried it and lit it and basically inhaled dry cannabis herbs. So it's a dry herb vaporizer. And it's very simple. You click a button on the little device, you insert what looks like a mini tea bag into the device, and basically light it, and away you go. Very straightforward, very simple. They're looking to launch this offering into the US, but again, of course, as with all medicinal treatments, it is subject to the licensing laws and the legality surrounding that. So February was a big month for Ananda. The company raised $300,000 from two investors to fund the first phase of the DJT plants growing facility in Lincolnshire. And of course, as we've already stated, this is subject to Home Office approval. So it raised $300,000 and issued 120 million shares to bring those investors in as shareholders. In Lincolnshire, they're building a 2,000 square meter greenhouse, what they refer to as a modular breeding facility. And of course, along with that facility, there's the security, the monitoring equipment, and manpower behind running the business. So at this stage now, we also have a major shareholder, a gentleman called Rupert Williams, owns just over 5% of the company. So given that lockdown is being lifted, I think we're going to see a big surge in activity now in Ananda. Firstly, from the Home Office visiting DJT Plants facility in Lincolnshire and giving it the okay, which it seems to be on track to do. And of course, we're going to see some more activity from ICANN as they launch their medical cannabis incubator and roll that out along with their conference services. Exciting little company, been dormant for a long time, but with Melissa Sturgis at the helm, she's got a great reputation as a CEO. I think we're going to see great things from the company going forward. And of course, at a 6 million market cap, it barely reflects the potential that the company is set to deliver.
So is it relatively new then? You say it's been dormant for a while, but is it relatively new to sort of its current operation?
Well, what's hampered cannabis development is, of course, legislation and the legality of being able to use products. And there have been so many papers written, and of course, we've seen the upsurge this year. And as with many companies, I mean, we've spoken about mining companies, Mark, and of course, mining companies with dormant assets, and all of a sudden, due to a change in the commodity markets, a revaluation of commodities, those dormant assets come of age, and they're then developed and value is extracted where in a previous market that just wouldn't have happened. And the same is true really for Ananda Developments. It has been working behind the scenes, but of course it's been unable to really maximize on the potential within its investments because of COVID. But now also with the fact that the laws are changing, and there's this upsurge in the cannabis industry. We've seen Canobo come to market, and all the interest and focus that that's created. Ananda, I believe, is set to capitalize on that, and still really is trading at a very lowly market cap compared to any other players on the market. So it's got its own production facility, obviously with DJT plants, and of course the investments in LHT, Haypack, and ICANN. So I think it's certainly isn't a one-trick pony. It's a spread of risk across this new and exciting sector.
And what else is out there, Alan, then, in terms of investing in cannabis? Probably not a lot.
Well, there's the sativa business, which is also a cannabis growing facility. You have Canoba that's come to market, and there are various others. And of course, there are companies that are basically investment companies that invest in technologies, unlisted technologies. But there are a huge number of small operators and unlisted operators out there that are developing cannabis products, and this market is to coin a phrase, is growing rapidly.
So I was going to say it's at the beginning of a growth stage.
Yeah, it's at the beginning of a growth stage, and of course, Ananda is a medicinal cannabis investor, and it has the resources and the investors involved within the company to be able to fund new acquisitions, bolt-on acquisitions, and so on and so forth. So in many ways, it's better positioned than a company that's just focused onto one area. It's already got a spread of investments. It may find that one of its investee companies is looking to maybe acquire a company, and of course Ananda can help with that process too. So there are many ways for Ananda to leverage up its assets in this area, and certainly the expertise is within the group to do that.
Okay, good. Yeah, and I think in terms of legalizing these things, and certainly medicinal cannabis, I mean, already in the United States, certain states you can buy it for recreational use, and
Canada, of course,
and Canada, and here where I am. Not that I'm a regular partaker, but you can if you so desire. But
in those little cafes, yes,
in those little cafes. So, but for the medicinal side of it, it's good to see that. I think finally the world is sort of waking up to the medicinal properties of cannabis, because there is a lot of evidence out there, a lot of it anecdotal, but there's a lot of evidence out there and a lot of research being done at the moment into this space. But it's, I think, because of the prohibition, that's why it's perhaps seen as suspicious or whatever. But finally, to get some recognition, and I think in the UK in particular, it was a case of a lady, I think who's I can't remember, I think it was her daughter. She had suffered epilepsy.
Yeah, that's right.
Yes,
yep,
and she managed to get it all, so that her daughter was able to get hold of this stuff, and it finally went through legislation in the United Kingdom. So it is starting to happen. I think the fact that you've got this, they've got this production facility in the UK, which Home Office are sort of in the process of granting a license for, that just goes to show as well that the industry, or the attitude, if you like, is moving in the right direction for these kind of things, and it's good to see that finally, because as you say, we're at the start of this growth stage, and medicinal cannabis and beyond, I think, is a good time to be getting involved in this kind of space for an investment proposition.
It is hugely exciting, and I think it's the evidence is irrefutable. There's such strong evidence in favor of cannabis as a treatment, and of course a lot of cancer patients use cannabis to relieve the pain as well. It's it's absolutely the evidence is overwhelming and compelling, and I think this industry is poised for a huge growth spurt.
I think it is, and it's about time. And cancer patients, not just for pain relief, people have actually, I think, sent their cancer into remission by utilising. One of my contacts is that there's a lot of work in that space, and it needs more attention, but hopefully it'll come, and we'll see this space really take off.
Well, I think part of the issue with cancer is that the pain weakens the body and the immune system and the body's ability to fight infection. And of course, if you can remove that pain, the body will strengthen and is better able to fight off the infection and deal, possibly with the cancer itself. It's it's somewhat anecdotal, but there's certainly sufficient evidence to support that theory.
Great. Okay. Well, thank you for that, Alan. So that's Ananda development. So let's talk about Echo Energy now then.
Okay, so we are moving to Argentina, South America, and Echo Energy have had a very eventful few months. So the company, first of all, it's set up to explore proven basins across Latin America, and it seeks to exploit multi-trillion cubic feet potential gas assets. Currently, Argentina is a net importer of oil and gas and liquid natural gas. It's a stated aim of the incumbent government there to change that. And certainly the region that the region itself has something like 290 trillion cubic feet of gas reserves, 4% of the world's reserves, and 330 billion barrels of oil, some 20% of the world's reserves. And that was from a survey undertaken by BP a few years ago. So it's an area with vast potential. And certainly the Austral Basin in the south of Argentina, where Echo Energy operates, it's across the Santa Cruz and the Tierra del Fuego region, which of course extends into Chile. It's a flat, barren area which is very sparsely populated. So of course it's ideal for operations such as this. So Santa Cruz Sur is the core and the flagship asset owned by or 70% owned by Echo Energy, and Roche is the operator there, which has a 30% stake. So Echo is the majority holder. So there are five key assets there: Campo Bremen, Moyaki, Carrillos, Oceana, and Palermo Aiki. And if you go to the Echo Energy website, echoenergyplc.com, and go to the Santa Cruz Sur page, you'll see a very detailed map there showing you where it is in the context of southern Argentina and of course where the assets are located. There's a port nearby as well, so they're able to ship the oil and gas away, and there's a pipeline, a gas pipeline that runs right through the region, so it's easy to connect up those assets too. So these are producing gas fields, and I'm going to basically in a minute I'm going to go on to the progress made by the company literally month by month since September last year. But just to say as well, aside from the Santa Cruz oil and gas fields, they also have an interest in Bolivia, and there's a joint venture with GTL International there to seek out and collaborate on joint ventures in the Huayco and Rio Salado areas in the Tarija Basin, which are basically in the Andean foothills. There is progress on that, but the key focus at the moment, of course, is Santa Cruz. So September last year, the company reported an increase in first half revenues to $5.6 million. That's up from $2.7 million in the previous year, and stated it was undertaking a series of low-cost workovers to a number of its wells to boost production and also streamline the operation. Santa Cruz is producing in line, and in December last year, the company announced a fundraise at 0.3p, raising 700,000 sterling for working capital purposes. And it also at that point restructured a 5 million euro debt facility with Lombard Odier. So that was a step forward for the group. Also in December, there was a big change in the VAT status of operating companies in the area, and Echo had been paying VAT on all of its domestic income, and that was basically stopped. They were paying 10.5%. As a result, they were able to reclaim $1.4 million. So, significant sums of money all of a sudden coming into the company. 4 oil wells at Carrillos and Paloma Ike returned to production in December. And on the back of the increase in share price, the company raised a further 856,000 at 0.5p. So basically 1.3 million was raised in the course of a few weeks. Gas sales contracts were announced in January, taking it up to 60% of Santa Cruz daily production, sold under secure contracts at a 26% increase over standard. And then, of course, at the end of February, the end of March, the company announced it had sold two further gas contracts at a major premium to spot rates. It's basically 126% increase over the annual contract pricing that it was achieving in May last year, which is a huge upsell. This basically means 6 million square cubic feet of production nets down to Echo for 4.6 million square cubic feet of gas sold. There's also further 2 million square cubic feet of potential upsell. But this means now that Santa Cruz's gross daily production output for industrial customers is forward sold through to April 2022. Okay. And that, of course, gives the company fantastic revenue visibility going forward. So all the time, the share price has been rising. We'll look at the share price today, but the company today has a market capitalization of 21 million. Shares have traded as low as 0.3p, and they're currently trading today. This is, of course, Thursday, 1st of April, at 1.2p. The shares have traded as high as 1.9p early this week for good reason. Just going to come up to the point where the company settled some loan notes, which is the significant factor in all this. Anyway, going back to January, the company signed a cooperative agreement with GTL International, as I said, to seek and execute energy sector transactions in Bolivia. Also that month, we saw 2 individuals, Clive Roberts and Sebastian Marr, taking stakes. Sebastian Marr holds 4.9% and Clive Roberts just over 4%. And that, of course, brings us up to date where what's really held the company back up to this point is a legacy bond, a 20 million euro Luxembourg note where the company was committed to paying 8% interest per annum. In exchange for a 100,000 euro fee with the note holders, the company has agreed to cancel any future cash interest payments and to delay the maturity of that note to 15th of May 2025. So what that does at a stroke, effectively, it cleans the balance sheet up completely. It takes that money off the table until 2025. Clearly, it's got to be repaid, but the company has plenty of cash now at its disposal from the income it's generating to invest in further wells in the region, and of course to invest in any blue sky opportunities that might come up in Bolivia going forward. And remembering that it's forward sold all that gas for the industrial customers it works with down in Brazil. We're at a very exciting juncture here. And I mean, we're at a 21 million market cap now. Clearly, there's been big movement over the past week or so, and a lot of retail and institutional investors have taken note of this. But really, I think this is still just the start, because the company's got a real chance now to scale up its operations and to invest the income that it's bringing in. Bearing in mind, it moved to streamline and cut costs last December. It's got a real opportunity now to spend the excess income on further developing wells, developing new wells, and of course, any potential acquisitions come up in that area, then it's in a good position to take advantage of those too.
And it's good that they've got that foresight, like you said earlier as well, that kind of, guaranteed knowing what's going to be coming in. It wasn't until 2022 23, did you say?
It's so they're now forward sold through to April 2022. They know that money, they know that money's coming in. They don't have the bond payback. That's now pushed on to 2025. So as I say, they've effectively cleared the balance sheet. Certainly for working capital purposes. So arguably, with the income they're generating, they can now fund their own expansion organically, which is incredible. So by the time, clearly that money's still got to be repaid in 2025, but by the time they get there, it's going to be a very different company indeed. I think we're going to see. I think we're going to see a company with an extended series of operations certainly in the Santa Cruz area and possibly elsewhere along the coastline there too.
Okay, good. And I've got a very nice website I noticed as well. It's very sort of modern, very clean, and lots of nice sort of graphics on there showing the project and different bits of infrastructure nearby, that kind of thing.
Yes, there is. I should say they've not updated there was an asset called Tapiaiki, which they've now agreed to let the option on Tapiaiki lapse. So when you go to the website, don't look at that, but go to Santa Cruz Sur, and if you scroll down, there's a very good map which shows you where the Santa Cruz Sur operations are, where they're located, and also geographically there's a bigger picture there looking at Argentina, and you can see where Argentina closes into Chile, of course, at the bottom there, at the bottom of the boot, as it were, and it'll give you an idea of where the company's situated. But yeah, the company, of course, the CEO there is Martin Hull, who came in recently and has done a sterling job in really turning the company around in a very short space of time. It has been really transformed since mid-September last year. But I still sense that with the ambitions that he has and with the ambitions that the company has, and also the opportunities as a big operator in the area, the relationships it's got with companies and business down in that area, I think it will have many opportunities to scale up its operations. So when it comes to repaying that money in 2025, it'll have a whole different range of options at its disposal.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Alan, again for your time talking to us there about Ananda Developments, which is in the medicinal cannabis space, and then Echo Energy, who are in the gas space. So thank you, Alan.
Thank you, Mark.
Thank you for listening to this Stockbox interview. For more information, interviews and videos, visit our website at stockboxmedia.com or give us a follow on Twitter by searching @StockboxMedia.